Good evening. I'd like to welcome you to our Lights On Afterschool event, Students Taking Action, our virtual panel discussion led by GYAC students. My name is Curtis Webb, Youth Program Director here at Gifford Youth Achievement Center. On behalf of Ms. Angela Perry, our Executive Director, and our Board of Trustees, I would like to thank our panelists for taking the time out of their busy schedule to answer questions from our student leaders. So again, thank you for supporting our students. And now, I would like to introduce our moderator for this event, a devoted GYAC volunteer and reporter from Bureau News, Nick Samuel.
Thank you, Curtis. Hi, I'm Nick Samuel, breaking news reporter for the Bureau News and a volunteer at the Gifford Youth Achievement Center. I want to thank the GYAC for having me as moderator today, and I also want to thank the panelists and student leaders for being here. We really appreciate it. I also want to thank teacher Amanda Lane and marketing director Stephanie Nelson for organizing this event. Now I will introduce our student leaders. We have Jordan McPherson, an 8th grader at Gifford Middle School who wants to be a performing arts entrepreneur. We also have Jocelyn Robles, an 8th grader at Storm Grove Middle School who wants to be a story writer. And now Jordan and Jocelyn will both say why they chose to participate at the Gifford Youth Achievement Center.
Hello, my name is Jordan McPherson, and I decided to participate in GYAC in Lights On Afterschool because GYAC has helped me in so many ways, and I know that they help other students in the community, and I want to share what they have done and all that we have learned here at GYAC with everybody else.
Thank you so much, Jordan. Jocelyn?
Hi, my name is Jocelyn, and I decided to participate for Lights On Afterschool because GYAC is important to me, and I want to share and educate people on all that GYAC does and how they encourage youth to think outside the box and take actions in our community.
Thank you so much, Jocelyn. And now I'm going to read off the names of the panelists that we have here today. So first, we have Milo Thornton, Major of the Bureau of the Administration at the Indian River County Sheriff's Office, youth mentor and former football coach. Milo is the 3rd highest ranking official at the agency and is the first African American to hold that position. Next, we have Marshawn Green, activist and founder of Pioneering Change. I'll let her talk more about Pioneering Change later on. Marshawn is also the chairperson of the Equity Committee under the School District of Indian River County. She holds a Juris Doctorate in law. Then we have Tony Brown, activist and president of the local NAACP. Brown is the 4th person to serve as president of the local chapter. Finally, we have Kevin Browning, radio host of 104.5 The Flame. Browning has a Master's of Science in Educational Leadership and was a school district educator for 20 years. So I know you all are wondering, what is Lights On After School? Well, I'll give you a little brief description. Launched in October 2000, Lights On After School is the only nationwide event celebrating after-school programs and their important role in the lives of children, families, and communities. The Afterschool Alliance organizes Lights On After School to draw attention to the many ways after-school programs support students by offering them opportunities to learn new things, such as science, community service, robotics, taekwondo, and even poetry. This is the GYAC's first year participating in the event. The GYAC offers programs including after school, of course, tutoring, food pantry events twice a month, swimming classes, the Boys to Men to Greatness mentoring program, and exercise classes for seniors. Now, we will have Stephanie play a video showing some of our programs. If Stephanie is ready. Let's see, is Stephanie ready? Looks like she's getting it ready.
For more than 20 years, the Gifford Youth Achievement Center has operated a safe, structured, and encouraging after-school environment for children in kindergarten through 12th grade so they can reach their ultimate potential.
What began as an approach to keep children engaged in academics and on the path of success, GYAC has blossomed into a year-round sanctuary for over 300 students across Indian River County.
For children, GYAC offers academic, summer, and mentorship programming. Improved grades, increased confidence, and better communication and critical thinking skills are a sampling of the outcomes our students experience.
Exposure to culturally rich opportunities like the theater, outdoor activities such as boating, swimming, and tennis abound, thanks to GYAC's numerous community partners.
Adults and seniors also benefit from GYAC programs, from exercise classes and Bible study to computer training and social events. The center is bustling with activities every day.
Bursting at the seams, GYAC launched a capital campaign in 2018 to fund a much-needed expansion project. After years with 40 to 60 students on a waiting list and a year and a half of fundraising, we are thrilled to report that our 14,000 square foot expansion is complete.
With hard work, high hopes, and heartfelt gratitude, GYAC officially opened the doors to the Sis and Bill Glavin Educational Center in 2019. Featuring 8 new classrooms and top-notch technology, GYAC now has the capacity to serve an additional 125 students.
Our success is possible because of the amazing support of this incredible community and our dear donors.
Your investment in our children is an investment in our community and will be for generations to come. Thanks to you, our future is bright and so is theirs. Looking forward, GYAC will continue to provide creative and enriching activities, develop leadership skills in our students, offer job shadowing opportunities, and continue to instill perseverance, fortitude, respect, and the belief that all children are capable of success, no exceptions.
In 10 years, I hope that people will say that GYAC, the Gifford Youth Achievement Center, supplied and furnished a venue that would help to increase the academic levels of the African American population. Way to go, GYAC.
All right, thank you all for watching that video. We really appreciate it. And now we're going to move into our panel session. So the students and I will ask questions about voter registration, fighting racism in schools, and closing the achievement gap between minority and white students. We want to remind everyone that this panel is not a debate, but a forum, so the students can learn about community issues. And so we want the panelists to unmute their mics if they can. Can you all unmute your mics? Okay.
Can you hear me, Nick?
Okay. Yep, I can hear you. Marshawn, can you say something? So I can
Yes,
hear you?
I'm here.
Mr. Brown need to
Okay.
Yes.
Kevin.
Yes.
Okay. I know you got to leave. I know you got to leave soon, so we'll try to make it quick. And Tony, are you there? Can you hear me?
He's still muted.
He's still muted.
You can hear me
He's still
now?
muted. Oh yeah, I can hear you now.
All right.
Okay, so our first category is schools. And so I'm going to read the first question. This question is for Ms. Green and Mr. Brown. And it doesn't matter who goes first. You all can choose. So the question is, in July, the school district of Indian River County decided to ban the display of the Confederate flag at campuses. Can you please talk about how the Confederate flag can be seen as a symbol of controversy among African Americans?
I'll let you go first, Mr. Brown.
You will, Ms. Green?
I was gonna let you go.
Okay. It is, if you look historically, it is a symbol of white supremacy. It goes back to the Civil War when the war was fought over freeing or not freeing slaves, which were African Americans. So from its origin, if you look at the guy that did the flag, in his manifesto, he told you that it was a symbol of racism. It was a symbol of white supremacy. So no matter how you dress it up with freedom of speech, the expression of this and all that white pride, it is, irregardless of who's saying it, it's a symbol of racism, segregation, and blacks enslavement.
Thank you so much, Mr. Brown. Ms. Green, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, I'll just add to what Mr. Brown was saying about the Confederacy speech. It was from the Vice President Alexander Stephens. And in the Cornerstone speech, he quoted, our new government is founded upon exactly the opposite ideas. As foundations are laid, its cornerstone rests upon the great truth that the Negro is not equal to the white man, that slavery, subordination to the superior race, is his natural and normal condition. This, our new government, is the first in the history of the world based upon this great physical, philosophical, and moral truth. So that's just the foundation for what the Confederate flag symbolizes. And also just on a basic level, for many of our ancestors that lived during that time, they saw it as people celebrating when we were 3/5 a person, when we were raped, maimed, ripped from our natural state, separated from our families, noosed, and all those heinous things. So that's mainly why we are against it being in the schools. We don't mind it being taught in history, but when it comes to being branded and celebrated, it creates a hostile environment for a hostile learning environment for Black students, especially if they're aware of what it symbolizes, the history that's attached to it.
Okay, thank you so much for those answers. I really appreciate it. And Jordan will read the next question.
This question is for Ms. Green. How did pioneering change push the school board to make the decision to ban Confederate flags at campuses?
We basically recruited people to speak at the meeting. So when we saw that it was going to be on the agenda to be discussed, we reached out to the community and asked people to speak, to share their experiences, to share how they feel about the Confederate flag in our schools.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Green. And we'll have Jocelyn read off the next question.
This question is for Mr. Brown. How was the NAACP involved in the process of getting the Confederate flag banned in local schools?
In 2013, it originally came up, and the board at that time, we petitioned the board to get rid of it, but we had some staunch neoconservatives on the school board, and they contended through the attorney that it was freedom of speech, freedom of expression, and that they were not going to do it. We continued to go after them, to tell them that this was wrong, that it was something, a stain on our community, it was a stain on our school district, and that we felt that it needed to be dealt with and needed to be removed. But mind you, the NAACP is still not happy because as it stands, it's within this dress code and the code of conduct. We're hoping that it becomes school policy. We're still talking to the superintendent and others to make it school policy that every year it's not voted on, and based on who's sitting on the board, it can be removed and the Confederate flag can be brought back. We've been in it now for a little over 7 years, and Green and her organization, we all collaborated to press the district that they would see that we weren't going to go quietly into the night.
Thank you so much, Mr. Brown. And so I'm going to ask the next question. And this is a two-part question. And this is for Ms. Green and Mr. Brown again. So the first part is, what are some steps students can take if they still continue to see the flag being displayed at schools?
I'll defer to you, Mr. Brown.
I think they should be vigilant. I know there's a rule about taking pictures on campus, but you need to validate it, you need to report it, and you have to be aware, do not try to the situation on your own, because it can cause you problems. Make sure that an authority figure is aware of it, stay vigilant, continue to with the Student Government Association, with clubs, organizations on campus, make sure they're aware of it, and just continuously speak out against it.
Okay, Ms. Green?
And definitely let your parents know. Keep your parents in the loop as you do that, because you want to have an adult that can support you in those actions. And then also reach out to Mr. Brown. He can represent your family in that situation as well, and be in the schools and advocate for it. I can also assist if needed.
Thank you so much for those answers. And this question is a similar question. What should students do if they see or hear racial slurs while on campus? And this is for Mrs. Green and Mr. Brown as well.
I would say, yeah.
It doesn't matter who goes first.
Go ahead,
Yeah.
Sean.
No, I was going to say exactly what he had said before. Definitely report it to someone like a teacher or administrator, but also keep your parents in the loop. Let your parents know what's happening.
Okay, thank you. And this next question is for Ms. Green and Mr. Brown again. And this is also a two-part question. So the first part is, please explain the purpose of the African American Achievement Plan.
Ms. Green, you can have fun.
So the African American Achievement Plan basically was a plan created to assist with students, African American students, closing the achievement gap. And just as recent as last year, our district went a step further to work on other areas that are in the 1967 desegregation order, to include those areas and kind of monitor that. So they addressed some of those in the African American Achievement Plan.
Thank you, Ms. Green. Mr. Brown, did you want to?
Yes, piggybacking on Mrs. Green, there's a inherent gap between education, kids of color, especially African American and others. You know, we often have people say we want to be equal. When it comes to education, equal is not the answer. Equality is the answer. If you have an 8-foot fence and you have 4 kids want to look over the fence, one of them 6 foot, one of them is 5 feet, one of them is 4'4", one of them is 3 foot. You can give each one of them a 2 box, which is equal in height, but it's not equitable for them to see over the fence. So we need to, the African Achievement Plan should work toward making equitable situations so our kids can achieve and decrease the gap between educational levels of our children and other children.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Brown. And the next question is similar to the first question. In your opinion, why is there an achievement gap between minority and white students?
Oh, I think that's a loaded question. I feel that there's a number of things that we have to consider. First, we have to consider just the at home and coming to school. Like when we have Hispanic students, they have English as a second language to help supplement that English is not their first language at home. Well, with African American students, we have African American vernacular English or Ebonics. That's basically our first language. So when we come to school, we are expected to already be on a level with English that some of us may not be on, because we don't, that's not our first language at home. You know, like even with, when you have Haitian students, they have Creole at home. And so there's something that needs to be supplemented. African-American students aren't getting that supplement. That's the first thing. The second thing is there's also cultural nuances that our students have that if we don't have teachers that look like us, they're not able to pick up on that. And so the teachers that aren't African-American take certain behaviors and certain reactions as disciplinary issues or something that requires discipline. And so then again, our students aren't getting the instruction they should be getting because now they're seen as a problem instead of a student whose culture is different from yours. And maybe I use my hands when I talk, but you see me as being defiant. So now I'm out of the classroom because I've been penalized for using my hands. And then the third thing, well, I'll let Mr. Brown go because, go ahead, Mr. Brown.
And we must be real that its inception, the educational system in America has from its inception been biased. We did not start at the starting line that was started at. Some people say we make an excuse, we giving them get out of jail free cards, but the system, and Ms. Green and I, we look at the data on a continuous basis. It is incumbent upon us to do more. We have all these underlying factors, but if you go back from slavery, my grandmother used to tell the story where if an African American was found that they could read or write, they would be killed. You know, so it's been a process, and then we were told that it wasn't important. We were allowed to go to school 2 days and pick the fields 3 days. So there's a lot of nuance involved in why we're not where we should be, and why an African American achievement plan, why special stuff should be done in order to enhance our learning capabilities. So there's a multitude of sins. It's not defined one way or the other, but it's defined by us understanding the nature of the beast, and collective work to clear up a sin that has been perpetrated on the African American community since slavery.
And then just to
Thank
add,
you so much. Oh.
Just to add, like with the discipline, in 2015, we were fined in Indian River County. I believe Black students were being suspended either 6.5 times more than white students or 5.5 times. But that's just the level of disparities that we see in our school district, and that contributes to the achievement gap, because if a student is suspended, then they're not learning. And if they're not learning, then when it comes to academics, they're falling behind. So that's another area that definitely contributes to this achievement gap.
Okay, thank you so much, Mrs. Green. And Jocelyn will read the next question.
Mrs. Green and Mr. Brown, in what ways can students become involved in the process of developing school policies?
Wow.
Did you all hear that?
Speak up, get involved. The worst problem you can do I started my career, I think, as an 11-year-old. If you see something, say something. Don't go along to get along. If you don't feel good, it's not good. If it's something that's directly towards you, if there's something that you see as systemic, that you see that is happening only to kids of color, speak up. You're gonna be sometimes isolated, stigmatized, but I often tell my daughter, when she was born, she wasn't a twin. She came into this world by herself, so she has to learn to stand on her own feet. So by you speaking up, you get involved, you saying something, you may inspire other kids to say, we're not gonna take it. Report, document it, and as Green said earlier, let mom and daddy know about it. So you can have an adult advocate on your side, but see it, record it, and let somebody know that and say something.
I would say go to school board meetings. If there's something that they're voting on and you feel strongly about, go to the school board meeting and speak during citizen input. If you all want to start a group that advocates in the school, I'm willing to sit with you and help you organize and develop your voice, because I think that would just be amazing to have a group of students that speak at school board meetings and communicate often with our school board, because they do need to know what's happening in our schools. You all are being affected by those decisions. So, I mean, if you're interested, I'm here. I'm just putting that out there.
I would join Ms. Shawn in that regard.
And also, the NAACP as a youth and college division, we have a chartered youth council. Our problem is getting adults. We have 32 kids on the roster, but getting adults to volunteer to be mentors for the kids. Certain things are in place. We just need adults to help us make it work. So when Ms. Green says, we also have the youth council.
All right, thank you so much. And Jordan will read the next question.
This question is for Ms. Green. May you please talk about the purpose of the Equity Committee?
So as I stated earlier about, okay, so in 1965, the Civil Rights Act happened, where the United States ordered all schools to integrate. Integrate means it went from black schools, all black schools and all white schools, to diversity, everyone merging together. And when that happened, Indian River County did not comply with the Civil Rights Act. And so in 1967, some local families sued, the Sharptons and the Islet sued in order to make it happen on behalf of Black students in Indian River County. So we are still under that 1967 desegregation order, because our school district has not complied with not only just the integration. We integrated physically, so you see diversity in the schools, but the actual instruction, diversity in teaching, and administration, support staff, like those things didn't happen. Curriculum, extracurricular activities. So we are still monitoring. The NAACP and the school board went to court in 2015, I believe. Mr. Bryan, correct me if I'm wrong. 2015, the superintendent at the time, Dr. Rendell, sued to try to get the order closed. And at that time, they went to mediation and agreed to create the Equity Committee. And the Equity Committee basically monitors the district to make sure that they are making efforts to comply with the 1967 desegregation order. Mr. Brown, you have something to add to that?
And yes, it is a federal mandated committee that is to ensure that the district followed the deseg order. There were initially, and Mr. Browning can read this, do a thesis on it. Mr. Browning can. But there were 11 elements, and the school district was going to bogart the NAACP to use 2 elements to get rid of the deseg order. But the God we serve was with us in that courtroom, and the judge said, no, you still have not lived up to the contract with 9 elements that 1967 desegregation order, which have not been complied with. So the Equity Committee is to sit and watch and make sure that the Indian River County School District adhere to the remaining 9 elements of the desegregation order.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Brown and Ms. Green. And Jocelyn will read the next question.
Ms. Green, is the Equity Committee pushing for more multicultural studies in school? Please explain.
Yes, well, we're actually pushing for African American history in the schools, because there's a state statute that warrants that it should be in our schools in the state of Florida, K through 12, and that hasn't happened in our district. And the reason we are pushing for that, not only because it's statutory, but because we believe that a lot of the misconceptions and the biases that are happening in our schools is because people aren't aware of African American history. And if we teach accurate history, not only for our students, but for not only for African American students, but for all students, everyone can understand that, like, what happened in the past, and to make sure that we don't repeat history. And that's extremely important.
Okay, thank you so much, Mrs. Green. And I'll read the next question. This is also from Ms. Green. More than 400 students have been placed on 2-week quarantine since the start of the school year. What are your thoughts on the school board's decision to keep the mandatory mask mandate? And it's also, it's a 2-part question. The other part is, do you think it has been effective?
Yeah, okay, so the first part, I think it was wise to keep the mandatory mandate, because as students are coming back Monday, there's no room for social distancing. And if there's no room for social distancing, then there needs to be masks worn, just to not only protect the teachers, but also to protect the students. Do I think it's effective? I do think it's been effective, because if there were not masks, there would have been more students quarantined. So I'm very grateful that they considered and chose to keep the mask, because there are teachers and support staff and administrators that have pre-existing conditions, and them just having that high exposure to students. Like, for instance, at the high school, one teacher may come in contact with at least 90 students. And if no one is wearing a mask, just imagine the increase of risk that that teacher is subjecting him or herself to.
Thank you so much, Ms. Green. We really appreciate those answers from Ms. Green and Mr. Brown. And now we're going to move on into the next category, which is activism. And so this next question is for Ms. Green and Mr. Thornton. And so the question is, what are some ways students can become more involved in their community?
I'll let you go first.
And it doesn't matter.
Well, when you say becoming more involved in the community, I employ that they get involved with all aspects of the community. The sheriff's office, we have community outreach programs that, quite frankly, only involve adults for the most part. I am in this coming year, we'll be designing a Citizens Academy that's designed only for our youth. Currently we have a Citizens Academy that's designed for adults only, but I'm going to be targeting our youth. I have a couple other programs that I've been writing on this board all week, and it's kind of geared towards what I call Youth Police Dialogue Circle. And that program is designed to build trust between our deputies and our youth. And that circle is going to involve about 10 deputies and 10 students. And they have those difficult conversations and allowed to talk about each other's experiences and things of that nature, to help break down those barriers, so that they can see, behind this uniform is a human being. These folks have children that attend the same schools as our youth, husbands and wives that work alongside the students' parents. So the goal here is to continue to target our youth that will be taking our places in a few short years, and to just get them to understand that our goal here is to work together, not against each other.
Thank you so much, Mr. Thornton. And when do you think that program will be up and running?
Well, we are between administrations right now, because obviously I have to get the blessings from the oncoming sheriff, and I don't think that will be an issue. But I want to reserve that right to get the blessing from that oncoming sheriff before I proceed with that program. So I'm hoping it's going to be early spring, so we can get or soon after, so we can get that ball rolling.
Okay, sounds good, sounds good. And this next question is for Mr. Thornton again. It's kind of a similar question. How can the youth develop more positive relationships between themselves and deputies? So similar question, but.
Well, one of the most important things I want our youth to understand is everything that you see on a social media platform is not always accurate or is the situation for us here. I know and with today's technology, I know when we go back when me, Mr. Brown, Michonne, and the rest of the panel were in school, we didn't have breaking news at the touch of our tips while we were in classrooms. Sometimes that news didn't find us for a week or 2 weeks later, if ever. So our youth receive news faster. And Nick, I'm sure you can champion this. Not all news is accurate. You know, there are some journalists out there that just want to be the first person to get it out there. So I implore our youth, you know, to, as far as building relationships, you know, research things before you championing it. Try to find out all the details of what's happening and what it involves before you jump onto it, you know, and put your total support behind it. It will, I tell you, it will build you and your character. It will do a lot more for you, and you will start to see things that you probably never saw before, as far as just doing that research, you know, and asking tough questions and following up.
Thank you so much, Mr. Thornton. And this next question is for Ms. Green. George Floyd died May 25th while in police custody in Minneapolis. Please talk about the police reform rally held May 31st by Pioneering Change and why it was needed after Floyd's death.
Okay, so the rally that we held was to stand in solidarity with George Floyd and against police brutality, because Indian River County has their own George Floyds. One of them was my uncle, Byrus Green. He was murdered by William Luther, Indian River County Sheriff's Officer, in 2007. So just having that rally was to remember those who have also died in our community, and just also give people a place to come together and stand in solidarity, just to symbolize that, listen, yes, that happened in Minneapolis with George Floyd, but there are some issues here that we do need to address ourselves. And we had an open forum where people could get up and speak if they wanted to, just to encourage each other, because it is a trying time right now. And as Mr. Thornton said, you know, like, we don't want to stereotype an entire force because of certain actions of few, but we also want to bring attention that, hey, you know, there are some things that we can work on in our community.
And you know, before, you know, I tell you, we have a really good relationship here. Well, you know, and I only can speak for myself. And you know, me and Michonne spoke on her rally, setting it up for over an hour. Me and her were on the phone, and I was giving her some tips. What, you know, and I shared with her, if they get somebody out of line and you want them removed, call us and we will remove them. And like I told her, you have a right to express yourself. That is a constitutional right, and no member of the sheriff's office is going to stop you or try to block you from doing that. If you want to do it here at the sheriff's office, I invited her. I says, absolutely, come on aboard. You know, I was there, but it wasn't about me. You know, and I was in the background watching her do her thing, and she did a phenomenal job of keeping everybody in check and running the event. But you know, it wasn't about the sheriff's office. It was about, you know, Michonne and her organization wanting to express themselves and be heard, and they have a right to do that. And we were going to make sure that happened without any problems.
And I just want to add that, like, when I started organizing it, I contacted Mr. Brown and talked to him, and he contacted Mr. Woolfolk. And I mean, we did it within 24 hours. Like, they had a megaphone, not even just I asked for a megaphone, but they had a complete sound system there. And I literally cried on site just because our community came together for such a cause that was very dear to me. And I just want to say to Mr. Brown, Mr. Thornton, and Mr. Woolfolk, that I truly appreciate you all for that support. It meant a lot.
Thank you so much, Ms. Green and Mr. Thornton. And we're going to have Jordan read off the next question.
This question is for Mr. Thornton. What is local law enforcement stance on the use of force?
Okay, I can tell you this. To me, my definition of use of force is this. We're in the business where sometimes force is required to get a person under control. But once that control is attained, anything that's extra is excessive. I am 100% against police misconduct. I don't tolerate it. And I believe that law enforcement needs to nationally take a stance immediately. Not 2 weeks later, it's not a paid leave while these things occurring. If there's evidence to support a firing or that police officer being removed, that needs to be done ASAP. Now, the people have to understand that law enforcement have this thing called the Bill of Rights, and they have this due process that we have to go through. And I don't mean, I'm sure you guys are smart enough to understand this in this room. You know, they have a procedures that they have to go through in order to terminate someone, and these are all labor laws and things of that nature. However, when it's criminal, you don't have to go through all those things. And what happened with George Floyd was 100% criminal. And actions need to be taken more swiftly and set a tone. So our stance is any force that goes beyond mitigating that situation is excessive and will not be tolerated.
Thank you so much, Mr. Thornton. And we're going to have Jocelyn read off the next question.
Mr. Thornton, you once coached football at Vero Beach High School. Talk about the impact sports has on the youth.
You know, I tell you, that is one of the things I miss the most. You know, these young men, and I've actually had a female on my team too, so I can say young men and women. The female that was on my football team now works for me here at the sheriff's office in our records department. But, you know, those young men that are now grown and have families of their own are like my extended family. You know, there's nothing greater than meeting a kid when he's 10 years old and now he's 23 and 24, graduated college, you know, and you're sharing these things with these, you know, life impacting moments with them through, you know, as they mature. Football and our youth has been tremendous to me. And I tell you, there's nothing that I wouldn't do for those boys. You know, they keep me fired up and looking at new programs. I'm looking at another program I put on here that I call the BOLO Flag Football League. And it's BOLO stands for Be on the Lookout. That's a cop terminology that we use. But these are, you know, getting our youth to bond with law enforcement in the flag footballs. But you know, it's been great, and it's been great for me in my career.
Thank you so much, Mr. Thornton. And now we're going to move on into the next category, which is voting. So we're going to have Jocelyn read the next question.
Mr. Kevin Browning, please explain the importance of civic engagement.
Okay, thank you, Jocelyn. Well, you have a lot of organizations that we are around, and a lot of these organizations have some very good people, but then every now and then we have some people that are not so good, and some of their decisions are not so good either. We just talked about the school board, right? So wearing a mask matters to you, and the Confederate flag might matter to you, as well as many other things. So you have to have the right school board members to make those right decisions, and we vote for those people. So those are the people that we want that's going to make the right decision to care for all of the students and say, you know what, we don't need this Confederate flag in here. Or maybe we need to go to uniform so everybody's wearing the same thing and nobody can wear anything offensive. It matters if you have the right school board members, the right sheriff matters, because then, like Mr. Thornton just said, accountability. We need the sheriff and the administration that's going to stop any bad behavior. All right. So, and then if the county or a school board or municipality want you land or your house, they have the right to do eminent domain and take it. If it's in the way of building something, they have to pay you a little bit of money. So you have to have people that are caring about the citizens. We need to have representatives that just care. So that's why it's important in all civic engagement. And I'll even go as far as to say as the judges. So you want somebody who's going to be fair and say, okay, Kevin Browning took a pack of gum out of Walmart, which he would never do. So you don't want to throw him in jail for 20 years for a pack of gum, you know, and then somebody else gets, you know, probation for it. So those types of things matter. All right.
Okay. Thank you so much, Kevin. And sorry to keep you waiting.
No
and we're gonna have Jordan read off the next question. It's a similar question, but it's still a good question.
This question is also from Mr. Kevin Browning. Why should residents exercise their right to vote?
Okay, thank you, Jordan. Politicians or people in office, some of them or most of them only care about the people who vote. So if you live in a neighborhood that doesn't vote what you want, they won't pay attention to it. And I've heard politicians say, well, they don't vote, so they don't care, because you can't vote them out of office because they know you're not going to vote. So if you've got people in the neighborhood next to yours that want to build, let's see, a sewage plant next to your neighborhood or next to your house, and that's going to smell up your neighborhood, that's just an example. You want the type of person, you want to be the type that votes, and that when you go down there and say, hey, commissioner, I don't want this in my neighborhood, they will listen to you, because they know that not only will you vote, you're going to get your friends, your families, your cousins, and everybody else to vote along with you. And you can vote them out if they're not doing what you need them to do.
Thank you so much, Kevin, for that answer. And I'm going to read off the next question. Mr. Kevin Browning, please explain the difference between a primary and general election. If you don't vote in the primary election, can you vote in the general election? It's a two-part question.
Yes, sir. I'll answer that first one first. If you don't vote in the primary, you can vote in the general election. However, they have records too, because I've been a part of walking door to door with the list, and there is a record of every time you voted. So I would know, okay, Miss Green only voted in the primary election, and or in the general election, and she didn't vote in the primary. Now the general is usually when the president is elected every 4 years. The primary is, you might have a senator, or it's every 2 years. So different senators or different House of Representatives, or your city councilman, or even your school board members might be on those every 2 years. Now, some people think it's only important to vote for the general election when the president is voting. However, the Senate is just as important, because they passed, the Senate and the House of Representatives passed all of the laws. The Senate needed to vote for Obamacare or health care. So if you didn't vote for them and get the people who were going to support health care, then you wouldn't have the health care that President Obama passed, for example. So it's important to vote in every election. So again, the general election is when the president is every 4 years, and they have more people on the ballot, but mainly it's the president. And then the primary election is in between those 4 years. And I said I was going to ask Miss Green to step up if I missed anything on that, Ms. Green.
Did you want to add anything, Ms. Green? Or?
Oh no, he covered it very well. Yeah.
Because she just had it and she knows all about it.
Good. And the next question is actually for you both as well. So, okay. And Jordan is going to read the next question.
This question is for Mr. Kevin Browning and Ms. Green. In what ways can you help adults register to vote?
Well, I'll start off by saying, because I know she probably has a stronger answer than I do, the local parties are looking for volunteers. The Democratic Party is looking for, when I was 12 years old, I walked door to door with the Democratic Party to help register people to vote. And I had the list, and we could tell who voted and who didn't. We helped people and talk about what the election was about. what the amendments were about. So that's one way to volunteer like that. Also, the supervisor of elections registers high school students to vote, and you can pre-register. And so there are many ways, organizations, college fraternities, sororities, churches that volunteer and register people to vote. And so those are just some of the ways you can help get adults registered.
And as Mr. Brown was saying, you can register as early as 16. You can pre-register. So if you have any friends that are 16, you can register them to vote right now. The website, you know, we have technology, so you can do it online, vote.org. On vote.org, you can register for any state, and you can just basically, let's say that you're at a family function and a lot of adults are there, you can go around the room and say, hey, are you registered to vote? And if they're not, you can use their phone or your phone, go to vote.org and put in their information to assist them with getting registered. So it's gotten easier for us.
Thank you so much, Ms. Green and Mr. Kevin Browning. And Jocelyn is going to read off the next question.
Mr. Kevin Browning and Mrs. Green, what else can youth do to raise the awareness about the importance of voting?
I think you got all the tools you need right now. You can volunteer. You can use your social media. That's huge with, you guys got Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Hope you're not on TikTok much, but if you're going to use it the clean way. And, talk about voting. Talk with your peers. Talk with your parents, uncles, and aunts, and talk about the importance of what it affects. If you want better schools, if you want safety in school, if you want better police officers or judges or school debt, like some people have hundreds of thousands of debt because they went to college. Well, if you get the right politicians in there, some countries, college is free. And those are the types of things, if you need better roads, all these things that we get, hospitals, all these things, we vote for people who affect these things. So those are some of the things to discuss to make the importance of voting, of how important it is.
I agree with everything Mr. Brown was saying. Just basically talking to adults and helping them understand how voting affects their everyday life. Like when he mentioned hospitals, and then you have healthcare, you know, it's been a continuous talk about pre-existing conditions. So with adults, if you know an adult that has a medical issue, then it's important for them to vote, because based off whatever administration is in there, they may be taking away coverage for pre-existing conditions. So if you all really want to promote voting, start to research how various elections affect the everyday lives of Americans. And that's basically the way to discuss it with adults, because a lot of adults may not really understand how it's connected to them. And it goes back to what Mr. Brown was saying with like the primaries. The primaries are typically our local elections, and culturally, the African-American community has been conditioned to focus on the presidential election. I know, because that's how I started off. Like, I may not voted locally, but I made sure I voted for the president, not realizing that in local elections, those are the people that affect our lives the most. The school board, the sheriff, the county commission, like every decision they make is pertaining to us. Whereas when it comes to presidential stuff, sometimes they're making decisions that are based in Idaho or Kentucky, but we're in Florida. But we know that when we vote in the primary, we are voting for people in Indian River County. And I think that's something that you all can talk about with adults as well.
Thank you so much, Ms. Green and Mr. Kevin Browning. And this next question is for Mr. Kevin Browning. What are the requirements to register to vote in Florida?
In Florida, you have to be, well, you can, at 16, you can pre-register, and 18 to actually be registered to vote. So you can be registered, and then by the time your birthday comes, you're pre-registered, and then they'll send you that card in the mail. You must be a resident of the county that you live in. And some of the benefits, oh, I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself, but be a resident, and from 16 to pre-register up to 18 to be registered. And second part, the benefits. some committees, like we have a planning committee or committees, they require you to live in the area in order to be a member of the committee to do things like, do you want to be able to, on the hospital board committee or some other type of committee. And then also, a big thing is being a juror in a trial, because you hear about these things where somebody gets life in prison for something so small. Well, if you were a juror on there and you believe the facts were different, you have a chance to save somebody's life or to put let's say a child killer or somebody away for life where they need to be. But that's just two of the benefits, and being able to choose who represents you, the person you feel will help your community.
Thank you so much, Mr. Browning. And Ms. Green, did you want to add on as far as the benefits of pre-registering to vote?
Oh, no, he got it covered. Thank you.
Okay, good. And the last question is a similar question, and this is also from Mr. Kevin Browning. And Jocelyn will read off the next question.
Mr. Kevin Browning, how can youth pre-register to vote?
Just the same way that people can register. But I think most young people get pre-registered at the school when the supervisor of elections comes to the high school, and you can pre-register. Or just like people are going around to register, you can go to your supervisor of elections office to vote, or when people are out registering people to vote. When you go to volunteer to help at your local party or wherever to help register the people to vote, if you're 16 or 17, you can pre-register to vote. And as long as you are a citizen of the United States, and you must be a legal resident in your county where you live or where you are registering to vote. That's it. It's just that simple. And of course, you need some kind of ID to prove who you are, even if it's one of those IDs, so they know that you are who you say you are when you're registering to vote. And thank you, Ms. Green. She's a superstar. She knows.
I appreciate that.
Okay, so now we want each of our panelists to give some very encouraging words to each of our student leaders that we have here, to encourage them what they need to do in order to become future leaders of tomorrow. And it doesn't matter who starts, y'all can go in whichever order. If you want to give Jordan and Jocelyn some encouraging words.
I'll kick it off. You know, my philosophy is, she said it and when we first started off, thinking big, thinking outside of the box, not being afraid to fail. But when you fail big. And the only way you're going to fail big is if you're going after big dreams. I never thought I would be in the position that I'm in, but I went after it, and I wasn't accepting no for an answer. You just have to go after those dreams with everything that you have. You will be told no multiple times, but you use that no to fuel your fire. You guys are extremely smart, or you wouldn't be in the position that you are now in front of this panel of just knowledge and wisdom. So take what you hear today, bottle that up, and put rocket fuel on it and go after it. I'm always available. I am a board member over at GYAC, and I'm one of your new board members. So I'm available anytime you want to chat or whatever. I extend that offer again to Michonne Green if she wants to do some type of committee or a board in the schools. Yeah. I love her work and what she does. Like I said before, I'm available for any questions or whatever you may need.
Well, the one thing that I would impart on you all is you are somebody. You are jewel. You are important. Don't feel that you can't acquire the status of those of us who are talking. Right. We have gone through the tracks and those that you've gone through. It's a matter of focus. It's a matter of determination. It's a matter of wanting to do that which nobody else wants to do. Don't be afraid to be isolated. Don't be afraid to stand on, because God has given each one of you a gift, and he's going to hold you responsible for doing it. I wanted to pass this, and I'd be remiss if I didn't. I was listening to a Steve Harvey interview. he interviewed Yellow Pain. And I know many of you know Yellow Pain. He's a 25-year-old rapper. If you've not heard him, please Google him. He has 2 songs out, Why I Won't Vote and Why I'm Gonna Vote. This young man tells the story where young folks can understand it. He can inspire you to reach for the stars. Remember, you are somebody. Thank you for listening to us.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
You can go ahead, Mr. Brown.
Oh, wow. Oh,
Oh, I thought you unmuted, so I was gonna let you go.
oh no, ladies first. Go ahead.
Okay.
All right, I'll go. She's more profound than I am, so.
Hey, you give me too much credit.
We have some very important people on here. Mr. Tony Brown is fighting every day to make the community better. And I'd like to see some of y'all volunteer with him and pick his brain and find out what he does. We definitely need some more police officers and sheriff deputies. So that, I hope, is a goal maybe of some of you in the room, or convince your brothers and sisters, because sometimes it's better to have people who understand you, and our community needs to be represented by young people looking just like themselves, people with a good heart who want to do what's right. So we definitely need that. And then, of course, you heard like Ms. Green has a JD, which is the Juris Doctor, which is a law degree. And she is as sharp as they come. So I just want you to strive for everything that you can. I think one of my guys, I listen to Les Brown. He's a motivational speaker. You don't know who he is probably, but he says a lot of people die with their talent in the ground, because maybe you're supposed to be the next Michael Jackson, or the next Simone Biles, or the next Michael Jordan, or King James, you know, somebody, whatever you're supposed to do, you need to press ahead. Don't be afraid and do it. We all get afraid to fail, and but just go ahead and keep pushing, do everything you can. And remember that it's not all the time about us. It's about who's coming behind us, our kids, your brothers and sisters, your cousins. So when we speak up to try to make the world a better place, we're doing it for everybody. We are our brother's keeper, and you are kings and queens. Don't forget who you are. You're important. You're a child of the Most High God, and He's got big plans for you in this lifetime. You need to go for it.
I mean,
Thank you, Mr. Browning.
I mean, what can I say after that? Mr. Browning just sucked the life out of my speech. No, but if anything, I would just tell you all that you can be anything in life that you want to be. Don't allow anyone to place limitations on you. I mean, even your parents, because there's a lot of times we encounter adults that have lived their lives, and there's certain things that happen in their lives that they have not seen. So if you believe that you can do that, there may be an adult that tell you that you can't. But what they're saying is, I have not been able to do that for myself. Therefore, I have not seen it happen, and I don't believe it can happen. But your mindset has to be that I will be the first. You have to understand that in everything, there's always a first. So just because you don't see something around you does not mean that it can't happen. It just means that you'll have to be the first in that area or to do that. And I just like to encourage you, because I have failed more times, probably more than anybody on this panel, anybody in this room, because I'm always trying something and it's not going how I plan. But what I do in those failures, I take the lesson. So I may have failed this time doing it this way. So, okay, so I'm not going to do it this way. Next time I'm going to go in the opposite direction. And it's okay to fail. So as long as you learn a lesson in that failure, it's okay. You know, failing just means that you're trying. You know, and I just want to encourage you all just to continue going forth, and don't worry about what others say about you and your abilities, because at the end of the day, no one controls what you become or who you become or what you're successful at. but you. People can say whatever they want, but when it comes to what happens in your life, you have that control and you determine that. I got in trouble in school up until 3rd grade because I met that teacher that actually showed me a different route and told me that they believed in me, and also let me know that the behavior that I was exhibiting was not beneficial to me. And so I took heed early, but I didn't stop there. I still did certain things to get in trouble, but eventually you realize how important like your future is and where you need to go. And the good thing about y'all is you all already recognize your future because you're in this room.
Yep.
So that's amazing in itself, and you have a head start. Just continue to be positive and continue to make plans for your life, and don't worry about what anyone says, because at the end of the day, you determine what you become. You determine your success, not people who are saying anything.
And if I could skip
Thank
back.
you so much. Oh,
I'm waiting for Mr. Thornton to be the first Black sheriff of Indian River County and the youngest sheriff. Police something, because he's a fucking guy.
I got a tremendous amount of support, and I can tell you, I believe that's going to come to fruition.
I would end with,
okay.
can't should not be in the dictionary. Eliminate the word can't from your vocabulary.
All right.
And try.
Thank you so
Eliminate
much.
try too.
True. All right. Thank you guys so much. And now we're going to have some final comments from our student leaders. And we're going to have Jordan go first. You ready, Jordan?
I'd like to say thank you to all the panelists here today, because I know you have very busy schedules and you all took time out of your day to come here and talk to us. So I'd like to say thank you for that. I'd like to say thank you to Mr. Webb, the teacher, Ms. Lane, Ms. Stephanie, and Mr. Nick for being here. I'd like to say thank you to our student audience, because I know it was very hard to just sit there and not do anything. I would also like to say thank you to my fellow classmates who helped come up with the questions, the ideas, and who also helped us put this together. And thank you to Jocelyn for being here with me, asking questions. And so just good job, everybody.
Thank you so much, Jordan. And now we're going to have Jocelyn. Jocelyn, are you ready? Okay.
I would also like to say thank you for being on our panel list and taking time out of your day to come answer questions for us.
Thank you so much, Jocelyn. And now we're going to have final comments from Amanda Lane, who helped to organize this entire event. So Amanda, do you want to, oh wait, well, I don't know if you want to.
Okay.
I'll
I can hold it.
Yep.
Okay. I'd like to say thank you so much to the panelists. Just to echo our student leaders here, thank you for taking the time out of your schedule to be here and being such a wonderful role model for our future leaders. And I say future leaders, but our current leaders as well, as you can see. So first and foremost, thank you to all of you panelists and all that you do for the community. Thank you so much. I'm so inspired myself as a resident here. Thank you, Ms. Nick Samuel, for being here and moderating this. This was fantastic. And last and certainly not least, thank you, Jordan. Thank you, Jocelyn. Thank you to all the wonderful students here at GYAC. Thank you, Ms. Stephanie. I mean, this was fabulous. And again, just God bless our future, and I say our current leaders, because they are phenomenal. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Amanda. Stephanie, did you want to, our marketing director is also here. Did you want to have something to say? Our marketing director is going to say some words as well. This is Stephanie Nelson.
Hi, everyone. I just want to say how proud I am of these guys. This is something that they've been super passionate about and working on for at least a month, and they met and jumped into it every week, and they would come and meet with me and share their ideas. It has really grown. I hope it's not a one-time thing. I think that they could really take this and do some wonderful things in the community, and this is just a starting point for all of them. I want to thank Nick for his time, and the kids that have been so great in the audience, Mr. Webb and Julia, for believing in the project, and that's it. So thanks.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. Well, it looks like our time has come to a close. And I want to thank you all again for being a part of our panel. We really appreciate you all being here, taking out the time to educate the students about what's going on in the community, because these are our future leaders, up here and back here. So we really appreciate everything that you do. So
thank you for having
thank you all for joining.
Thank you for having us.
No problem.
Thank you very much. Love you guys.
Thank you, guys.
All right. All right.
Strive
Thank
for
you.
excellence.
You guys.